Here are the goggles, so I can remotely fly it, and it's amazing what
the shooter was able to fly a drone over the area shortly before this rally. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
We have recovered a drone that the shooter appears to have used. It's being exploited and analyzed by the FBI lab. The drone was recovered in his vehicle. So at the time of the shooting, the drone was in his vehicle with the controller. In addition, our investigation has uncovered.
Do you know what time of day he flew it, and if he flew it on the day of the shot?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So in addition, it appears that around 3:50 p.m., 4 o'clock in that window, on the day of the shooting, that the shooter was flying the drone around the area.
2 hours.
About 11 minutes. I want to be clear, but when I say the area, not over the stage and that part of the area itself. I would say about 200 yards, give or take, away. Okay. From that, we think, but we do not know. So again, this is one of these things that's qualified because of our ongoing review, that he was live streaming, viewing the footage from that, again, about 11 minutes in around the 3:50, 4 o'clock p.m. range.
2 hours before he's flying a drone in the vicinity of the rally.
About 200 yards away.
2 hours before the rally.
2 hours before the rally. How does nobody notice it? I was just telling you at my wedding, the photographer used a drone. You can notice the damn thing hundreds of feet away. So nobody is security perimeter is looking up and saying, hey, what's going on with this? I mean, anyone who's ever been by the White House recently, there's drones everywhere, and they're all Secret Service drones. So they know what drones are like.
Yeah.
They know, what is supposed to be there and what's not. I mean, I've even read, Crystal, about anti-drone jamming technology in war zones or being used by Mexican drug cartels. So they have better jamming tech, or a prison or something like that. How do they know and have better tech than for the president's rally? That's crazy. I mean, the whole thing.
Insane.
And then I've been reading a little bit about how the Secret Service admits that they denied resources to Trump. That's, frankly outrageous.
Holy moly! Breaking Points talking out of their butts once again. Well, they clearly know nothing about drones. I do. I've been flying drones for probably close to 10 years or more. I started, I think, with one of the US robotics models. They're no longer even in business. That thing was so clunky, and I was so afraid of crashing. I don't think we really had an autonomous flight back then. But also, they're not really drones. They're remote control helicopters. That's what they are. You want to call them unmanned aerial vehicles, more appropriate. The term drones comes from media talking about things they don't really know about, or perhaps they did know about it, but it was intentional. Back in the day, in the news media, they started referring to these remote control helicopters, or quadcopters for four rotors, as drones, because back then people associated drones with military drones. So the idea that regular citizens could have these military grade types of equipment, it was scary, and it made for clicks. The manufacturers really pushed back on that, especially DJI. But after a while, thanks to the media, because most people discovered quadcopters or remote control aircraft with autonomous flight capabilities, they first were introduced to it through the media, which kept calling them drones. So that became a very, very common and popular word. The company stopped fighting, and now we just call them drones. Here's the deal. Let's talk about the comments made on Breaking Points. So they're saying, oh my goodness, how on earth could he have flown? They must know what drones look like. How come the Secret Service didn't see these drones? That's ridiculous. No, what's ridiculous is you commenting about something you don't know anything about. If you don't know anything about drones, bring on someone who does. Otherwise, tone it down a bit, right? Tone it down. Have some level of humility when you're talking about topics you don't really know about. Because here's the deal. I could very easily have made that flight, and there's no way that Secret Service would detect me. I could have easily flown one of my drones close to that event, taken pictures, and they would have had a really hard time detecting me. And it's not that difficult at all, because I have some high-level skills. This is what I would have done. I don't know what he did, but this is what I would have done. I would have launched my drone from miles away, probably 2 to 3 miles away or something like that. Depending on the drone and where you are, elevated position, good line of sight. I mean, it could even be more miles than that. But either way, I definitely wouldn't want to get anywhere close to the actual event for safety reasons of being discovered and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's going to kind of look suspicious, some guy launching a drone, close to an event like that. Who knows who might see me? So I'd go far away. I would launch it, and then I would take it up to an altitude that I know that you're not going to be able to hear me. You hear that, Sagar? Sagar, how you pronounce your name? You can actually, I know he mentioned his wedding, people flying. Listen, man, I'm not going to be flying, 50 feet above the ground like your wedding photographer would have been. If you're trying to do something, in secret, I would obviously want to fly at an altitude where, number one, you can barely see me, if at all. I mean, those things are very small. I don't have to go that high before it's like a dot in the sky. You're not going to see me. And as far as sound, I think 250 to 300 feet, somewhere around there, and you're not really going to be able to hear me. And if you can still hear at that altitude, I can go higher. It depends on the ambient sound levels of where I'm at. If there's a lot of noise in the general area, I don't have to go as high. But regardless, it's not very difficult to fly higher than you can be heard. There's even quieter props that you can put on there as well. However, and also, if you're going to do something like that and you have an ounce of intelligence, what you'd want to do is you'd want to fly it and then try to see if you can hear it and keep going higher and higher and higher until you can't really hear it anymore. And then you establish that that's the altitude that you want to be above. So then you launch from a few miles away, you fly close to the location. Doesn't have to be that close, 200 yards away, 300 yards away, 400 yards away. When you're really high up, you don't have to get that close to be able to see into, right? Because you have that advantage of being very, very high. And there's also drones like the Mavic Pro Zoom, I think is the model. So it's a model of a drone that DJI manufactures that has a very powerful zoom lens. So I can be higher than normal and far away and zoom in really close. And also you have really high resolution cameras. So even if you're not as close as you would want to be, because there's so much resolution in an image, you can actually zoom in and crop it out and still maintain a lot of details. So there's lots of ways that are pretty easy with existing technology for you to get close to that scene, get video and photos of the area, close-up shots. I mean, if any of the security stuff is set up where you can see it. And then he talked about like anti-drone technology. First of all, again, doesn't know what he's talking about. If you look at the wording that he uses, he's talking about technology that's designed to stop drones. Why would you be using technology designed to stop drones if you haven't detected the drone, right? So you want to talk about drone detection, not attacking. It's not like they saw the drone and they couldn't do anything about it, right? If that's what happened, then that would make sense what he's saying. As far as we know, they're still investigating. As far as we know, there was no detection of the drone. So therefore, a drone defense system wouldn't really be that relevant. Drone detection would be. Now, there is technology that can detect drones based on the wireless signals that they use, which is typically Wi-Fi. There's also other technologies. DJI has its own system that it uses to communicate, to basically live stream the video signals to your phone or a remote control. So, they already have knowledge of, first of all, DJI being one of the biggest manufacturers and the other brands out there. They know what frequencies they use, what type of signals they use. So there's a device that law enforcement can have. It could be just a local police department. Definitely federal agencies would have. And once activated, anyone flying a drone anywhere near the location, they can easily detect it. Now, there's an easy way to circumvent that, potentially. I'll talk about that in a second. But here's a problem with that. This was 2 hours before the event. Any kind of drone detection, if they were using it, would be more used at the actual event time. So anytime Donald Trump got anywhere close to being on stage, there would have definitely been a no-fly zone declared in the airspace above the event. So no normal aircraft, no drones or anything would be allowed to fly above that zone. In fact, with DJI, there's new technology now where it'll actually restrict you, and I don't believe you'd actually be able to fly through. There might be a way to override it. I'm not 100% sure, but I really doubt it. There's certain restrictions that you can override. It'll prompt you to override it, or you could actually call into air traffic control and get permission. But I believe in the level of restriction that they would have for an event like this, I don't believe you'd be able to do it. So with a consumer drone, you probably couldn't fly at all once Donald Trump is anywhere near to being on stage. 2 hours before, I don't know if they would do it that early, but certainly getting close to it, like an hour before, definitely half an hour before, they would have put up a restricted airspace. So again, a normal consumer drone that hasn't been hacked or something wouldn't even allow you to fly. However, and here's when we run into a problem with drone detection, these technologies are designed based on known devices. So DJI, for example, and some other companies, a lot of the competition has kind of been destroyed by DJI, but there are other companies out there. So these technologies are going to be looking for like Wi-Fi signals or the proprietary type signal that DJI uses to broadcast that high resolution video. Now, if you, and this is not an obscure thing, there's a huge market of people that build their own drones, DIY drone folks, right? Especially people that do FPV, right? Which is first person view, where they're wearing goggles. Here's a consumer version of those. So this is not a DIY version. This is the DJI Avata 2. So this is a pretty small device. In manual mode, this thing can hit 80 miles per hour. Good luck spotting that thing in time and responding in time. Now there's anti-drone technology that can do things like lock onto this and actually bombard it in terms of physically. So basically, it would fly. I believe it flies above me and locks in with my path, and then actually slams into it, causing it to crash. But outside of things like that, very difficult to detect something that small that can move that fast. And there's drones that can go over 100 miles per hour, so you can fly really low, really fast. Presents some challenges, shall we say? Here's a remote control, just like a joystick for an aircraft, and here are the goggles. So this is the essence of the FPV, first-person view. I fly using these goggles where I can see full-screen view of whatever the drone sees, right? So I can remotely fly it, and it's amazing what you can do with this. I've flown in thick bush, and I can see very, very thin, I don't know what you call it, like, I guess like weeds. There's certain types of weeds and vines that have a very, very thin, it's almost like a wire. And if that gets tangled up in my blades, that's no good. But I can see such level of detail that I can easily navigate around them, going inside of and underneath thick bush with confidence. So anyway, with a DIY type of drone, you could be using any number of ways to communicate with the aircraft, which might not be detected by these devices, which are looking for consumer type devices. So they're looking for certain types of signals, certain frequencies of signals. But if I'm using something that's outside of that, for example, using a frequency that's not normally used by drones, good luck detecting with that. Now, if they have other devices that can see the radar signature of a drone coming in, I don't know about where they're at with that, but that stuff would still be challenging because of how low these things can fly. But that's getting into a whole different realm, because I wouldn't be flying in low to get some surveillance photos. I'd want to go in definitely high so I'm not seen or heard. And in that case, making it easier to detect as far as using some kind of radar device. But that's getting it too complicated. The bottom line is, even the drone detection technology potentially has some very big loopholes. So the fact that this guy was able to fly and get that close 2 hours before the event is not as shocking as Cigar makes it be, because again, he could easily fly at an altitude where Secret Service, they're not going to see it. Secret Service is not magic, right? They can't just magically see something that looks like a dot in the sky that's so high up that you can't even hear it, that may be so far away. Like, they could see it in binoculars, but why would they be looking at the sky, scanning? And you have an idea how big the sky is? The idea of them like zooming in all over the place and trying to find this tiny thing that looks like a dot. You know, they're not going to see it. The only way to really see it would be with technology. And again, we pointed out some problems with that. So again, if they wanted to comment about this stuff, they could have easily brought someone on who has the knowledge of it. And I wonder, the way they speak with such confidence about something they know nothing about makes me wonder, how many other times have they been speaking out of their asses on this show? Something that they don't really know about, and then speaking with confidence. Oh, this is ridiculous. How could they do this? This makes no sense. Listen, this, I know that. Right? How often do they do that? Right? Stuff to think about. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Boom.